Hello everybody, and welcome to Bonecanoe86 Answers Your Freaking Questions. Because, I had to wait 2 weeks to answer the rest of your questions because I had to think about them. I put careful thought and consideration into each one, and I'm not winging this at all. No, not at all. And, yes, I present you this episode with a glass of wine. This is definitely my first glass, by the way. It's not my fifth or sixth or anything like that, no. Okay. Well, first of all, I have to answer some questions that were lost when the one video took a big crap, so here we go. We are going to start today by Digger John. He asks, in your experience as playing all the Civ games, which is your favorite civilization to play as, and which one to play against? Well, I can really only speak for Civ 3 now because I haven't played Civ 4 too much, but I played everyone pretty much at this point several times, with the exception of the people who were in the last expansion because I only had that since last year, so I haven't played all of them. And it's really hard to say. I mean, what basis am I judging this on? The best units, the best, the best bonuses, just the best overall look and feel. I don't know. It's going to be hard to say, but I thought about this, and I've decided the Babylonians for the old time's sake, just because they're cool. Babylon was a very early civilization, and it's kind of neat to have them in the game. I can't pronounce any of the cities, and their archer can be used as a defense unit as well as an offense unit, which is kind of cool. So, and when to play against, I'm going to say, well, if I'm going to pick someone, again, it's like what criteria do I use, but as far as the biggest bastards of Civ 3, I mean, we have certain people like the Germans and such, but of all the people who are the biggest bastards in Civ 3, it's China. No matter what game you play, if China shows up, they're going to mess you up, because it's kind of funny how some countries are always weak, like China and America in Civ 3 are never strong. They always suck. Germany isn't usually strong. Russia's not always strong. But China, they will kick your ass almost every time. They're just tough. I mean, Persia's pretty tough too. They're usually pretty difficult to beat, but China is the real bitch of Civ 3. So, based on those criteria, I give China the win. Oh man. So, let's see, what else do we have here? TNT is cool asks, when do you stream? And is Civ 5, in your opinion, good or bad? Well, do you mean when do I stream, as in what time of day? Or when is my next stream going to be? Well, if you're talking about when as in time of day, I like to vary it earlier or later. But my favorite time to stream is 8 p.m. my time, which is Eastern Standard Time. The real time zone, the one that matters. And as far as when am I going to stream next, I don't know. I mean, I streamed a ton back in August for the House of Sims summer stream. Maybe I need more wine. There, now I can pronounce words better. Okay, so I don't know when I'll stream next. Maybe if I get enough demand for one thing or another, I'll do it. So please spam me with stream requests. Actually, don't do that. That sounds like the worst idea ever, but oh well. Do whatever you like. As far as Civ 5, what am I saying? SimCity 5. There's a lot that shows promise with the game. There's a lot of things that worry me a little bit, like the whole click and place thing rather than things growing. I'm not really sure. I'm not too sure what it's going to be. But the whole idea that you can, the traffic is generated like real time. Like instead of Civ 4, where cars are just sort of there on the street, in the Civ 4, in SimCity 4, but in SimCity 5, cars are going to actually represent actual people commuting to their jobs. So that's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to that. And I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic. It might be fun. All right. Now there's a bunch of questions I asked last time, or answered last time. So okay, we are going to now answer a bunch of questions from a guy called Lord Noise 6. He is a 4 member of ours. So, hey Sean, how you doing? Alright, first question. What board games do you own? Currently, I own, well, technically Brian owns this, but we kind of both play it, not too often anymore, but Family Guy Monopoly. I mean, even though I'm not really a big Family Guy fan, you know, it's still Monopoly, just with Family Guy place names. And, of course, many of you remember the game of Super Monopoly that I once played with Brian on camera. We have our own version of Monopoly. It's very fun, and maybe I'll do it again sometime if people want to see that. I'm certainly willing to play it. So, there we go. What other games do I have? Stratego. I'm pretty good at it, I think. I think it's nice. And, I mean, there's a lot of board games back in my parents' house that I used to play back in the day, but haven't really played too often. I'm really good at Scrabble. I enjoy Scrabble. What else is there? I'm really struggling to come up with anything, because I know there's a bunch, you know. But, yeah, those are some I've played. Alright. Number 2. What is one game you hate a lot? I don't know. I would have said Europa Universalis 3 up until a few weeks ago, but I now have finally got the hang of that game, so I don't really hate it so much anymore, which is good. But, I don't know. I'm really tempted to I'm really tempted to say, remember that one video I made of The Room, the game? I'm just kidding. I don't hate that. I love that game. I need to play it again. Yes. I should do a full Let's Play of that game for you. I should stop everything until I do it. That would be hilarious. Yes, maybe I'll even have some sort of weirdo on as a special guest. I don't know. It depends on what weirdos are around, you know. Yes. Okay, question number 3. How long do you think the House of Sim can last? I think the House of Sim will outlast the heat death of the universe. Well, maybe not that long, but you know, there's no reason why it should end anytime soon. I mean, we're putting along. You know, I wouldn't say the forum is hyperactive or anything, but we go through our phases where we're more or less active, you know. So it's not so bad. And I think that we'll be active for years to come. I mean, new people are coming in slowly. I mean, a lot of the big posters have been there since the beginning or near the beginning, but there are people who are new who are coming in. So I don't see any reason the House of Sim can't last for years to come. Okay, number 4. Any plans for Leslie Spike? Well, as I said in the previous answer video, to one of King's questions, there may or may not be. I mean, without getting into too much detail, like I might have said before, sometimes I feel I don't really have the recently I just haven't had the patience or the mindset to go out and actually do it, but that might change soon. I think it will. 5 5, what do you think of the RNC and DNC, which means Republican National Committee and Democratic National Committee, or convention, or whatever. Well, the conventions are just a bunch of pageantry, as we all know. It's sort of like, oh, look at us, whee! I mean, the conventions haven't actually mattered in terms of selecting a candidate for, quite a while now. And I mean, I guess they're good for the parties, for unifying the people of the party behind their candidate, but beyond that, who cares, right? I mean, it's just a bunch of pageantry. That's all it is. 6. What is the one country that you have yet to visit that you would want to visit? This is probably an answer that everyone gives, but I'd like to go to England and hang out there, because most of my ancestors are English, and I've always had a thing for English culture. I mean, I probably have a bigger thing for German culture, but I've already been to Germany, so I can't really use that as an answer. I'd like to go back to Germany, but in the context of this question, I think England would be my place. Although I'd love to go to Sweden too. I'm 1/8 Swedish, yes. That's where my good looks come from. But yeah, probably England. That would be my one thing. Maybe I'll take a train there. Apparently trains go to England. I found out in a dream. So, okay. 7. If you could give someone the Fail Potato Award of the Year, who would you give it to and why? I don't know. There's a really derpy guy I talked to called Eric who might win it, but I'm not sure. If I was to think about the failiest person in the world, if I was to be serious for a second, which is hard for me to do, but I'd probably give it to Muammar Gaddafi, because he's a jerk, and his whole country revolted against him, and they pretty much beat him to death, or shot him to death, or something. Well, in any case, he's dead. He failed very epically, and good riddance. Goodbye. You win the Failed Potato Award of the Year. I'll pretend this wine is a potato and give this to you, although you're Muslim and you don't drink. Oh well, I'll drink for you. Alright, so P.S. the game. I lost the game, and so did you. And so did you. Alright. Okay, we have more questions from Lord Noise. He starts with number 7 again. What do you see yourself doing in 10 years? Your mom. No, I'm just kidding. Well, maybe. But in 10 years, I will be 36. Oh, God. I have no idea what I'll be doing in 10 years. I barely know what I'll be doing. Well, I know what I'm going to do tomorrow. I'm going to go to work, and that sucks, but don't know what I'm going to do next year. Don't know what I'm going to do in 2 years. Certainly don't know what I'm going to do in 10 years. Because life is very unpredictable. I've never been one with plans that I followed through on, excuse nobody. I apologize not for that burp. But I mean, 10 years ago when I was 16, I had no idea my life would be like this. So any predictions I would try to make about my life at the age of 36 are going to almost absolutely be false, when the time comes around. So, I don't know where I see myself in 10 years. Will I still be doing YouTube stuff? It's possible. That's likely. If this format still exists, if, the government doesn't say, oh, we can't do this anymore, or anything like that. Although I kind of have the feeling that this is here to stay. If anything, it's become more open in the last 2 years and then more closed, So that's good. Okay, 8. What sports do you play? I don't play any sports currently. I do regret, though, when I was in high school, I didn't at least try out for something, because I'm an athletic enough person. I'm getting a little fat right now, but I've always been good at athletic type stuff, and I want to play. Well, my favorite sport is baseball. I would have loved to play baseball. Not sure what position I would have been. Maybe first base. That would be cool. Everyone would ground out to me, and I'd be like, "Hey, got you." But I like to play baseball. I like to play basketball too. I wouldn't say I'm great at basketball, but I have decent aim. The only problem with basketball is I get a little too aggressive, or at least I did last time I played it, which was like 8 years ago, so I can't really say anything. So I've probably been able to calm myself down enough by this point to not be so aggressive. I mean, still aggressive, but not creepy aggressive, I played flag football in middle school, like in gym class, but at the time I had no idea. I didn't understand the rules of football at the time, so they're like, stand here and do that and go that way, and I'm like, okay. So yeah, but if I was to be on a football team, I would want to be the guy who charges and sacks the quarterback. Forget what he's called. But yeah, that's what I used to. That was like the only thing that I could really figure out how to do well. That's just fun, because I just want to. Yeah, that's what I would do if I played football. Charge the quarterback. Get as many sacks as I can. Because when you get sacks, you win. The more sacks, the better. Alright. Number 9. When do you think you'll end your Let's Playing career? I don't know. I mean, I do think that things have winded down from this time last year or 2 years ago. However, I don't think that things are necessarily over for my channel. I still have people watching, and there's still a chance of resurgence. I mean, I kind of feel like Let's Playing has changed over the last few years, and there's much more of an attraction to the bigger crowd. The bigger people, I mean. And a lot of the smaller guys are getting sort of crushed or forgotten. But I don't know if that's necessarily the way of the future. I mean, I'm just going to keep making videos, and we'll see what happens, There's no reason why I can't reach new heights of popularity I haven't seen before in upcoming years. So, that is something that I hope to do. Alright, number 10, sadist or masochist? I would honestly say both. Although, I'm a little bit more of a masochist, or I mean, I used to be. But, when life kicks you in the face a few too many times, you do grow somewhat of a sadistic tendency, so I can go both ways with S&M, in other words. It's a lot of fun. Okay, next question. 11, have you ever touched a gun, like the real deal, a Nerf gun or something, in your entire life? And believe it or not, the answer is no. I've never actually touched a real gun. I'd like to. I'd like to learn how to shoot, and go to a shooting range and, shoot some targets. But no one in my family shoots. None of my friends shoot. And I really would want someone who has experience to tell me how to, load the gun and clean the gun properly so I don't, have it explode in my face. Because that always sucks. No one wants things exploding in their face unless, they're with their lover and they're going down. But that's neither here nor there. I'd like to learn to shoot. But I don't know if and when that will happen. Okay. 12. What should the next American president, or the incumbent, assuming he wins, accomplish in his term? Well, this is difficult, but I would like to see the incumbent president really get a handle on unemployment. And, everyone says deficit reduction, and yeah, that needs to happen. But I really want to see things that lay the foundation for future growth, because what we really need is better infrastructure, both in better roads and rails and things like that, but also better you know, uh, better, what is it? Better wireless connection, better internet, and just the foundation for like more fiber optic cables, just more platforms on which people can work and and create. That's really what we need, because government, people say, oh, government doesn't create jobs, and it doesn't really create jobs, but what it can do is sort of create the foundation on which jobs can grow. I mean, the government at one point made a whole bunch of dams that irrigated a whole bunch of new land for farmers, and those farmers had their own businesses, and they weren't, made by the government. They, ran themselves, but it was because the government made that, made the foundation for them to be able to do that job on that land. They were able to do that. So the government should just create the foundation on which things can be successful. And I hope the president, over the next 4 years, whichever one it is, does stuff to that effect. Okay. 13. Do you think that a world government would ever be created? It's hypothetically possible. However, I don't think it's going to happen within any of our lifetimes, just because there's too much disparity, there's too much difference, and there's too much, nationalism in all these various countries across the world to ever form one world government at this stage. I mean, it's possible that someday there will be one world government, but I think it's going to arise from just a slow accumulation of, people will be more and more connected until the current government systems are sort of archaic and more irrelevant, and then sort of a world government will arise out of that. But I don't see that happening anytime soon. So there's not going to be a world government anytime soon. Maybe eventually, but not now. I mean, one thing we, as humans, we define ourselves in large part by common enemies and common foes. So we almost have a psychological need to have, if we associate ourselves into nations, we have the need to be against other nations, in a way. So people aren't going to want to give that up, They're going to want to keep fighting. So no world government, at least not for a long time. Oh, and by the way, this is part of a cork. Woo! I kind of destroyed that when opening my wine. Okay. Well, that's all from Sean. The next question comes from Mr. the Daily Gamer. He asks, Bone, answer me this. When will you go back to The Sims 2? I really like that. I want to see this third generation. Well, I do admit that it's been a few months since I recorded the last Sims 2 video, and I know I ought to record more. The thing is, I'm a lazy son of a bitch, and it's so much easier to just turn the camera on, play Civ 4 for 10 minutes, and hey, I have an episode. But Civ 2, Civ 2, what am I talking about? The Sims 2, I really have to, do a lot of editing and a lot of setting things up. And I mean, it definitely is more rewarding in the end, but it's a lot of work. And like I said, I'm a lazy ass. I mean, I should just show you how messy my room is right now. I mean, there's like shit on the floor. Like, there's a bag of pretzels over here, a pair of underwear, an old wine bottle, some socks, some bags, and that's just what's the... Oh, focus, you damn camera. Okay, there we go. Okay, so yeah, recording Sims 2 definitely is more rewarding in the long run, but it's a lot of work and I'm a lazy ass, so hopefully I'll come back to it. Okay, dittenomane, that is your real name, asks, do you have any pets? I do not have any pets. I can't really have any pets in this apartment, but even if I wanted to have a pet, I'd be afraid of it dying. Like, I'd be afraid, like, oops, forgot to feed him, he's dead. You know, that's the same reason I don't have any plants here. Like, I don't want to have a pet that I feel I can't take care of. I mean, someday, maybe when I'm more settled, if I ever am more settled, I'll get a dog, or maybe a few dogs. But for now, no pets, you know, because, yeah, I don't feel I have the ability to take care of them, so I'm not going to bother with that. And he also asks, what's your favorite animal of all time? Not only the ones you keep at home. Actually, my favorite animal of all time is the dog. Yes, I know it's not as creative as saying a dragon or a, you know, mayfly or a chihuahua or something. Well, chihuahua is a dog. What am I saying? But dogs have been with mankind since the beginning. They were the first animal that we domesticated, the first animal that has a bond with us, you know, and to this day they're our best friends, you know, and I just love dogs, and I think I would say that's my favorite animal. Okay, how much are we up to? We have time for 3 more. The next 4 questions come from mattdelab. Alright, question 1. What are your thoughts on the recent crisis in Libya and the Islamic States / Arab Spring? I'm actually very excited about the Arab Spring and the ability of the masses to overthrow their leaders or pressure them out in many cases. But I'm also worried because a lot of these leaders, while they might have been assholes and terrible dictators, they were secular leaders, a lot of them were. And it is possible that in some of these countries, Islamic parties might take over and we might just be exchanging a secular dictatorship for an Islamic one, and which is far worse. I mean, it seems to be happening in Tunisia and Egypt. I mean, incidentally, Libya seems to be the place where, you know, things are happening the smoothest. You know, the killing of our ambassador notwithstanding, but, you know, they don't seem to be going on to as much of a theocracy as the other countries. I mean, we really have to watch out. We don't want Islamic theocracies appearing in the Middle East. And also we should be worried about what we wish for in Syria too, because they might end up with a theocracy at the end. Alright, number 2. If you could move to any country, which would it be and why? You know, I would probably move to Germany because I've been to Germany once, and, you know, I've seen plenty of pictures of other parts of Germany, and I know a bit about German culture and stuff, and when I was there, it just felt like home, you know. It just felt, everything just looked and felt the way that I think things should look and feel. I almost could say that I felt more at home in Germany than America, you know, just by the surroundings around me. I mean, I'm sure day-to-day life is very different over there and would be a bit of a culture shock, but, you know, I just felt very at home in Germany, so I would move there. Question 3. I'm in love with a woman from another country. What should I do? Well, I personally am not in love with a woman from another country, but I knew a guy who was, and he went over there and married her, and they've been together 5 years now. So that's a sign that things can work. But you really have to evaluate things. You have to evaluate your life and say, what do I really have? What do I have going for me here in my country? And would I be willing to give it up to move there to be with her? Or if she wants to come here, I'm presuming you're American, maybe you're not, but let's say you are, would she be willing to give it up to come here? Most likely it's going to be the guy who moves, because that just seems to be what happens more often. So just think, am I willing to give up what I have here to start over there? you know? And that's one thing you have to ask yourself, but you also have to weigh it against, you know, if you love her enough and you think that things can work, it's worth a try, because, you know, I'm going to sound like an old hippie or something, but love is really all that you need in the end. It's the most important thing. So all that other stuff about, you know, career and money, you can find a way to make that work, but, you know, if you have a loving relationship, that's like the biggest thing, you know? So if you have not been with her in person yet, I would recommend taking a trip over there to see her, like for a couple weeks, and just seeing how that face-to-face interaction works out. And if it is good, you can proceed from there. Alright, so that's what you have to do. Just see how things work, and then you have to evaluate whether you're willing to leave everything behind to go over there and be with her, you know? So, question 4. Do you think Mars can be terraformed? I'm not sure, but I think we ought to try, because, you know, I believe that the future of the human race is in space, or ought to be, you know. We are getting to the point where we have basically explored every last crevice on the planet Earth. We filled up all the land. There's no frontiers here anymore. We filled them all in. But space yearns to us, you know. There's resources out there. There's future worlds out there. When it comes to Mars, it's going to be tricky, because there's low gravity there. I don't know if that gravity is too low for humans to be healthy in the long run, but the atmosphere is also really thin. Like, it's like 1% as thick as our atmosphere. I mean, that can potentially be changed. It might be just enough to terraform Mars to the point where certain plant life can be supported. And it would be great to make Mars green, you know, because if these plants do reproduce to a large extent, that could create a bigger greenhouse effect that would make Mars warmer. I mean, I don't think that humans would be able to ever just live open on the surface because of temperature and low pressure. But I think, you know, we could build on Mars, and I think that's in our future if we are bold enough to do it. Alright, well, I am going to stop the answer video there. I thank you all very much for tuning in. There's going to be one more, so maybe in November I will do that. No, I'm just kidding. I'll do it very soon. So, I want to thank you all for watching. I hope I answered your questions wisely, and I will see you all later.